There are forces of good and forces of evil at work in the world today. What are these forces? Who is responsible for the good? And who is responsible for the evil? Richard Schaff talks about current events which are rarely discussed by the mainstream media, events that affect us all. This program seeks to identify, to inform, and to equip the believer for what's ahead. Welcome to What in the World is Going On?
This is What in the World is Going On, and I'm your host, Richard Schaff. The program is sponsored by Lincoln Log Homes. Folks, today that's the only commercial here, that part. We are pro-Christian, pro-American, pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, and here only by the grace of God. This election is far from over. Who says so? Well, I do, along with over 70 million other American voters. Why do I say it? Why do we say it? Let's look at it. First off, we've got promised recounts in several states, certainly Wisconsin, Georgia, those are for sure, maybe even Nevada and Arizona. We've got Ted Cruz, a great senator, tried a whole bunch of cases successfully before the Supreme Court. We've got Senator Lindsey Graham. Did you see where he sent down $500,000 this past week for the Trump Defense Fund? They're dedicated. We've got Sidney Powell, that great constitutional attorney, the one that's also representing quite successfully in a fixed court, General Flynn. They point to fraud in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Nevada. Hey, there was a computer error, in one county up in Michigan. 6,000 people that went in and voted for Donald Trump, it switched them to Joe Biden. And you know what? That same computer was used throughout the state. Now, I don't know much about computers and programming. I don't know anything about it. But some of you that do can probably figure it out. Do you think that was an error? Or do you think somebody might have helped it a little bit? Well, we've got Lindsey Graham. He's the Senate Judiciary Chairman. He's starting an investigation in that committee Monday, November 9th. You see, the Dems planned this a long ways ahead of time. Trump tried to tell us. We had some news coverage that was telling us. They were setting it up where they could figure out how much they needed and where, and planning where those ballot boxes could be with the ballots in them. The ones we're not supposed to know about. A lot of thought to that, and we were told about it, I'm repeating myself, by Donald Trump and by others. Well, even before it all happens, the media says the election has been called. That's right, we got it. A couple of days later, the media says the election has been called. Now, I know a little bit about the U.S. Constitution, and I think it's the American voters that tell us when it's time to call an election, not the media. But the left-wing media is the one that called it. And our friends over at Fox, we'll talk more about this later, but a friend over at Fox was the first one along with AP. Keep in mind, folks, nearly 71 million Americans legally voted for Donald Trump. And the news media? Well, in the middle of last Saturday, in the evening, when Trump was speaking, did you know where all the major networks cut right in the middle of his speech? NBC, CBS, ABC, every major news outlet except Fox and CNN cut him off in the middle of the speech, brought in their biased reporters, a bunch of idiots, left-wingers. They came in with their comments. You tell me something isn't fixed? You tell me something isn't phony? This old country boy had been around a while, folks. I can sniff some of these things out. I'm not too sharp. But it looks like there's something phony going on here. Did you see Saturday night where they canceled Judge Jeanine? Yeah, it was supposedly too hot for Trump. Pretty expose, pretty much what we're talking about here. Anyway, we don't know whether Judge Jeanine's gone permanently or whether it was just that one broadcast. But remember, it was cut out by Fox News. Keep your eye on Fox. We may want to start checking Newsmax TV as well as the alternative news that I follow regularly. Yes, Trump has vowed that peaceful transition. He is a legal man. But he's not going away, in my opinion, and neither are his many million voters, his followers. Will Trump run again? Grover Cleveland did, quite successfully. Could he start a TV network for conservatives and patriots? Hey, he'd have the field all to himself, wouldn't he? Might he start a social media or platform like Twitter and Facebook or something where patriots could be heard? Be wonderful. I don't know where he's going to go or what he's going to do if we lose this battle, but I know I'll be with him, and I won't be alone. There'll be a whole lot of you folks too, won't there? In closing, I want to reference an article. This previous has all been my words, but I got an article from Jay Valentine that I want to share a portion of it with you, titled, "Never Bring a Republican to a Street Fight." Street fighting is different from just showing up. There's a movie cliche about never bringing a knife to a gunfight. Well, nothing quite makes the case more than never bringing a Republican to a street fight. We've got one party in America that openly wants to fundamentally change our entire form of government into a one-party totalitarian state. They plan to add several states to gain permanent control of the Senate. They pitched adding enough justices to the Supreme Court to change it into a leftist legislative body of last resort. They said the filibuster was toast. If this is what these people want to do, and they said it, who amongst us think they want to play by the rules when counting votes? Is there anyone on this planet who doubts that when a Democrat state government in a critical electoral state stops counting votes when their party's opponent is ahead, will open the next morning discovering thousands of, quote, found votes? What's so galling about this vote fraud is how completely transparent these Democrat state governments are about it. You can bet they're laughing while saying, well, it worked, didn't it? Remember back a few years ago, Texas Democrat Lyndon Johnson? He was running for the Senate before he was president. He found boxes of new votes. There were just enough votes to get him over the hump. Not too many. And his friends jokingly called him, quote, Landslide Lyndon. And then there was the Chicago vote for John F. Kennedy. Just enough. They found votes for Al Franken. Just enough. It goes on and on. What do Republicans do? Acquiesce. They tell people to be calm, follow the process, show up at a gunfight with a lawyer. So here we are. Trump was leading in several states, and they stopped counting. You know the story, folks. The real story is how this has gone on for generations, and the result is always the same. The Republican candidate who likely won is out. Then the Republicans in the House or the Senate welcome their new colleague and promise to work across the aisle. Bipartisanship, let's all be pals. This will continue until it doesn't. The new reality is the obvious bipartisanship of big tech, the media, social media, all covering up the Biden family payoffs through outright censorship. Everyone can see it. There's nobody denying it. Finally. But with overwhelming odds, let's just acquiesce. Let's quit. Well, folks, maybe it's time to street fight. Want to know how? Let's follow Donald Trump. He's a true street fighter, knowing, and he can show us how to do it. Fight it out every day, every transaction, never give an inch. Trump fights for inches with tweets, maybe punching down. The result is that the miles seem to take care of themselves. Traditional Republicans give inches and claim to fight for miles. They gain neither. Let's follow Donald Trump. One. Hopefully, in a second term, if we get one, Trump will clean out the Justice Department down to the janitor himself. He'll take the partisan intelligence community apart person by person. FBI Ray will be gone and exposed. Whatever happens in this preposterous vote-counting episode, in the end, Trump created a generation of street fighters, and we're not going to acquiesce anymore. Win or get screwed, Trump is not going away, and neither are we. God bless until next week.